Well, I think I think the word's out. You go around and it's kind of amazing. I felt this way last year, but it definitely confirmed it this year that New Mexico Albuquerque's kind of a New Mexico and Albuquerque kind of a hidden gem. It's amazing, and people in Albuquerque and New Mexico probably like that. I'm sure. So I apologize for getting the word out, but if there's one consistent thing to this whole recruiting piece, and really a consistent piece to even bringing people in or bringing coaches in or people coming to visit, the one consistency, the one thread through it all is people. I'm not sure what they perceive New Mexico to be, but when they get here, they're amazed. I'm not sure what they thought it was going to be, but unanimously, it's a whole lot better than what they thought. And the overwhelming feedback is what a great place it is, what a nice place it is, and how nice the people are. So I apologize that maybe we're getting that word out a little too much, but it's exciting, And as I look at this class, I'm not going to stand here and go through all the names. I'll let you guys ask specific questions, but I think some things to me, just off the top of my head, it became pretty evident. Number one is, we have some credibility. I think when you go in these homes, certainly when you go in these high schools, there's credibility to what we're doing here. I think the second thing that's really obvious is that the culture and the chemistry of this program has been significantly changed. You can't go out and recruit the kind of players we recruited unless your players on campus, and in our situation, particularly the older players, speak so well about the program when the coaches aren't there. Because you know how this all works. The coaches, we all have an agenda in it. Certainly we want the student athlete to come, but our players on our team, they're just guys talking to other guys. So I think the thing that I'm most proud of is how we've made the transition, probably polar opposites in the style of program that it was to the program that it's become. And I'm really appreciative of our players, particularly our older players, of how they've done with the recruiting piece of it. And I have to thank them because there's no hiding that. When these players get here on campus for 48 hours, they're around those players. And it's always the player's opinion on your team that matters the most. I think the third thing that jumps out to me is that, we've established some go-to areas. Last year I think we signed 12 players from Texas. This year we signed 11. I think that's 23 players in 2 years. And with that, I saw the level of competition of who we were competing against significantly increased this year. I think, you look at who we beat to get some of these players. You also look at, as in always the case, who beat you to get some of those players we didn't get. I think we've raised that bar. And I think that's only going to get better because we do have some areas that will keep on giving because the players that come here will have a great experience, and then next year there'll be more players coming from those same areas. So, as far as comparing the class, that's impossible. We'll see how it all works out. The only comparison I could make is, last year at this time, we signed 25 players. Of those 25 players, 20 of them played in games for us this year. All 25 players are still in the program. All 25 players are eligible. We don't have one player that's not eligible right now, which is unbelievable compared to last year at this time. And I think the average GPA of those 25 players we brought in was a 2.67. And I'm confident enough to say that this is a stronger class, top to bottom. Simply because we had so much more time to evaluate, so much more time to really rank, have fallback plans if players went a different direction. And I'm really proud of the organization of this recruiting class because we spent a lot of time. We spent a lot of time evaluating. One thing, we brought more players in. I think Josh will have the exact number. Josh, how many players did we have visit? 60? Around 60? We had 58 players visit. We signed, I guess, 25. if you count the junior college guys, 24 because Teron Briggs was already here. We brought in more players because the competition we were recruiting against was higher. So it's a little bit risky. You go out there and, for instance, last night, just to give you an example, we lost a player late in the night to Kansas. We lost a player that Oregon State came in and offered, who I believe never visited the campus. We lost a player early on that had committed. Kansas State came in and offered him. He never visited Kansas State. So when you recruit better quality guys, the competition is going to be stiffer. And I think that's really the reality of what this class is a culmination of. So, I feel good about it. Again, I doubt there's a coach across the country that's going to stand up here today and say he doesn't feel good about his class. But, I think we've taken another step. So, you guys, any specific questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Coach, can you go through a little bit of your evaluation of players that you're going to bring in and or offer?
Yeah, I think always it's, do they have a chance to stay here, be successful here, and graduate from here? Is it the right fit? And that's probably an overused word in the coaching circles when it comes to recruiting. But I said this a year ago. I mean, Albuquerque, New Mexico is not for everybody. Our style of coaching, our style of discipline, our style of accountability, going to class, coaches 24 hours a day, monitoring you, it's not for everybody. So I think as we go on, retention of the players in this program will increase. I'm really excited that all 25 we brought in, quite honestly, are here. We know what the retention level was over the 3 prior years. So I think the evaluation process means in the long term, are they guys that can accept the style of coaching you're going to give? And are they guys that can be successful with the way you're doing things? Our offense is a little bit different. It takes an unselfish player. You go recruit a receiver that thinks he's going to touch the ball 67 times next year. He shouldn't come here. So across the board, it was that. And I think also the evaluation, we know exactly what we have in this program now, exactly what we need to go from 4 wins to more wins, and we can fit in exact pieces more. Where last year we were just trying to get 25 guys, to be honest. And we were very fortunate. We were very fortunate looking back on last year's class because there is some talent in that class. So the evaluation's everything from A to Z. But the biggest thing is, do they have a chance to really be successful and be happy with your style of how you do things?
Do you feel like you addressed a lot of your needs, Coach?
I think so. We signed 3 quarterbacks. That's always the first thing that's the easiest for people to see. We have a junior college quarterback that's here on campus, which I thought was really critical. Then we have 2 other quarterbacks coming in, both from the state of Texas, both that we're really excited about because their style of play. One young man had committed to the University of Arkansas, Lamar Jordan. With the coaching change, Brett Bielema coming in, a little different style. They told him, go look elsewhere. We were fortunate. We had stayed on him from start to finish, and because of that, we were able to get him. The other young guys from Austin, Texas, he was in our camp last summer. You talk about evaluation. We saw him in person. He was here. When we played the University of Texas, we went and watched him play on Friday night. He's got a little magic to him, but we've watched him in person play. And we know exactly what he brings. We know exactly how he fits. Both those quarterbacks, mothers and fathers, their parents both made the visits with them, as did the junior college quarterbacks. So, we addressed the quarterback situation. There's going to be a lot of competition there. The next piece of it, I think 2 junior college offensive linemen were very important for us. We all know the numbers last year on the offensive line. We got 2 older guys. Both of them will be here in June. That we're excited about. The defensive back position, probably the biggest position on the team. We've already made a decision. This is not about recruiting, because Saquon Edwards wants to move to corner. He will move to corner. Obviously, he could be a starting receiver on this football team next year. So that's a big move that there was a lot of thought put into that decision by both us and Saquon and his parents. So he's going to be a corner. But the defensive back, the defensive back position is critical, and I think we've got some good athletes that, hopefully can come in. That's okay.
You talked about a wish list at the end of the season. Did your wishes come true?
What was that wish list? That's probably. I think so. You don't always get everyone you want, obviously, but I think through organization of the recruiting plan we had, we end up coming away satisfied. We really do. To be able to sign 25 guys on signing day, all quality players, pretty balanced as far as position. I think it was pretty good. I really do.
Bob, I know you know where most of these guys are going to line up, but you signed a bunch of kids that excelled on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Is that by design at all?
I think so. Particularly the skill position guys. I think, without going through every list of names, because our receivers, in a lot of ways, are running back style guys. You look at Ramel Jordan from here in town. You look at Terrion Gibson from Dallas Kimball, who both his brothers played at Wyoming. His older brother now plays for the Cleveland Browns, who was at home on the home visit when I went in. Those two guys are in that running back slot type category. And all those defensive backs, the young guys from California, Markel Byrd and Bijan Parker, both are kind of in that mold as well. So I think that's accurate. And Rick, the best high school football players, except if you're in some of those unique programs, play both ways. So we'll see. But I think we've got some good athletic guys that give us some, some opportunities for some flexibility.
Coach, how many opportunities are you going to have to redshirt any of the freshmen that are coming in?
I don't know. I doubt many. I look right now at our roster, and next year we will have 24 first-year players in the program. We'll have 26 second-year players. Now, some of those players are Rashad Rainey, who you can list as a senior, David Orvik, and I'm just talking about scholarship players. We'll have 24 first-year players, 26 second-year players, and we'll have 24 third, fourth, and fifth-year players combined. So you have 8, 8, and 8, basically, of the 3 prior recruiting classes before we got here left in this program. So we'll be the youngest team in the country next year. So just like this past year when 20 of 25 played, I would think 20 of the 25 are going to play. The other young man position change, Terwan Briggs, transfer from Cal, was here. He counts as one of our 25 because we had to move him forward to put him on scholarship in August. He's going to be a linebacker for us. So both Terwan Briggs from offense and Saquon Edwards are coming over to defense for us.
Hey, Coach, this David Guthrie, I know you got him as a junior college. You must be thinking he's going to come in and make a quick impact.
Unique guy. We met last night as a team, and I've always done this with the new players. Our players have been working out with Ben Hilgard since they got back for summer, fall, winter session. But I put their tapes on of Bowers, Guthrie, and Mitchum. And you could talk to some of our players. Guthrie makes a difference. I mean, I saw Patron Hightower high-fiving him here in this meeting room last night about 5 o'clock. I mean, Guthrie is a contact football player. He's a unique guy. So, hopefully, it was us in Illinois on Guthrie. That's who it came down to. But he's a unique kid. I think he'll have a chance to play right away.
Coach, I saw the film on Hutchinson Junior College played against Northeastern Oklahoma, and this quarterback, Mitchum, is unbelievable in that game I saw.
He's again, Bob DeBess, we watched him play in person. And I also sent Kevin Cosgrove to watch him play, just from a defensive perspective, because I just wanted Cos's feedback. We're going to watch this kid play in one of these bowl games, and he's everything in person we thought he was off that tape. He's a guy that played at Northeast Oklahoma, a little bit under the radar. Came out of a small program in Oklahoma. He now lives in Fort Smith or Little Rock, his family. He's a little light right now. He's about 172 pounds, but he's got some skills. He really does.
Coach, do you anticipate any of the high school players coming early for spring?
No. I'll tell you another piece of this, and I can't mention the names right now. You know, we signed one high school player, Ramel Jordan from here in New Mexico. But we had 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I guess it was 2 or 3 weeks ago on a Sunday, we had a New Mexico Day where I think, Josh, what do we have, 50 New Mexico high school players in? You know, we can't make this work without the David Anayas, the Reese Whites, the Tim Foleys, the Matt Ramers. There's going to be some really good young men that'll join this program. And I hate to even put the walk-on tag on it because they're not typical walk-ons for us. And that's the next piece of this that I really can't talk about right now. But there's some really good young guys that care a lot about this program that are going to be joining us as well.
Are these 50 that you were talking about came in, they're all going to be eligible? There'll be a freshman next year that came into
Yeah.
Okay.
The 24 we just signed
Yeah.
will be first-year players. Terwan Briggs, who's already here, I'm counting him as a second-year player.
Yeah.
So that's 24 first, 22nd second.
Okay.
They're all eligible. We don't have one player on this team right now that is not eligible.
Okay.
And that's believe me, that is a significant statistic.
You made a comment last year at the end of the year that we might maybe take a step down after this recruiting that you've done this year. Do you think maybe you feel differently now, or do you?
No, I still feel the same just from an experienced standpoint. I mean, just because we are going to be so young.
Yeah.
I think you could just look at our defensive line. As exciting as that is in some ways with some really young, talented players, they haven't played. A year ago, at least we had B.R. Holbrook, who had played. Now it's Cole and a bunch of young guys. So we're just young. We're going to be young, but there's no question we're just light years ahead of where we were a year ago in every phase. It's just we're going to be a young football team. There's no way around that.
Coach, it's always been tough to get defensive linemen to New Mexico. Talk about some of the guys that you got in and how difficult was it?
Well, I go back to last year. That's where I think I do not take for granted Patron Hightower, Jerron Bourne, Dom Twitty, Darian Allen, 4 freshman defensive linemen that I'm really excited about. I wish we could have redshirted them, but I'm just excited about watching their progress. We were able, anytime there's a coaching change, things open up. We signed 2 players that had committed to the University of Cincinnati, and both were actually more highly recruited than that level, University of Cincinnati. But Nick Diavanzo from back at Archbishop Curley in Baltimore, we have some ties there. Nick's a guy that's 300 pounds right now. We're excited about. Bowers, really was Fresno, Nevada. Bowers in the program as a defensive lineman. And we've got a guy that, again, I hate to talk about each guy because right now it's so premature. But if there's one player on that list that you have to, that you just kind of want to watch and see, and I told him this when I was in his high school, is Big Sam Mabani from Denver South. Just unique. His story's unique. Maybe we can pass that story out, Josh. His mom came over from Sudan. I guess 10 years ago, brought the 2 boys over, escaped. He's at Denver South. He's every bit of 6'7" and growing. We got on him early. We were on him last spring, and I'm just curious to see how it all plays out with him. The upside is just as high as any player I've been around, but it's going to take time because he's just so young and so raw. But back to the point of defensive linemen, I've been really pleased. I've been really pleased combining these 2 classes to the type of players we've been able to get, because they are hard to get.
Coach, given the immediate needs that you guys had, was there any consideration to going more the junior college path, or was this kind of the thought you had?
I wouldn't go beyond the numbers that we have. What do we have, 5? 5. I just the chemistry of your team and how we're building this thing. I love Rainey. I love Orvik. We've got some guys that have, and Oldenkamp's a guy that's sitting there that has 3 years. And Reno Henderson has 3 years. You know, he's a 3-year player. I just would rather go the high school route and build this thing and have guys who are going to be around here for a longer period of time. I mean, Rainey comes in here, starts right off the bat for us with no spring ball. He has 1 year of football left. David Orvik, no spring ball. He has 1 year of football left. And you just can't develop them the way you want to develop them. But there are certain needs you have to go that route. I think quarterback, we had to do that with one quarterback. So to answer your question, you know, and really, you know, each junior college player has a different path. And we research those paths very closely as well. And we feel pretty good, but I wouldn't want to go any more than 5.
Coach, I hate to be the heavy here.
It's all right?
I got to ask you about the anonymous letter.
Sure.
What was your reaction to that?
Probably the same reaction it's been through my 35 years of being in coaching and broadcasting, that anonymous letters are anonymous letters. And it's really, number one, there's no way to defend, and there's no reason to defend an anonymous letter. So, you know, my reaction would be, it's par for the course. You know, I've been in this a long time, and there's really no overreaction or underreaction. It's an anonymous letter.
Is it disappointing to you?
No, because I think if you put that much thought into it and that much stock into it, you know, I'm certainly not worried, or I'm not going to let somebody's anonymous letter control how I feel about it, you know, because, no, answer your question, no.
Did you feel like there needed to be a statement released on that?
You know, I'll probably let Paul, you know, talk about that at the right time. You know, I don't know. You know, again, do you release a statement on an anonymous letter? I mean, we might be releasing statements every day if we started releasing and addressing anonymous opinions on something. So I don't know. I mean, I'll let Paul kind of figure that out as we move forward.
I appreciate it.
Sure.
Coach, going back to the list, did you exceed, were your expectations exceeded, or everything is just like what you thought it would be, or?
When all the dust settles,
Yeah.
I think it's probably about what I thought. You know, I knew it would be a little easier sell than it was a year ago. You know, I knew that we'd be farther along evaluation-wise. You know, so the thing that probably exceeded, quite honestly, was, again, the credibility piece. I think a lot of people, particularly coaches, you know, appreciate kind of our style of the way we're doing it, and I think understand where it's coming from to where it's going. So I think there's kind of a buzz out there, and there's a little momentum. So I think that probably exceeded it. You know, we were a little more, people paid attention more and knew us more and knew our story more than maybe I thought. You know, because we only won 4 games. But we got a lot more credit than what a 4-win season you probably should get in the eyes of people out there. So I think there's some credibility.
Coach, would you like to see the NCAA change anything about the recruiting process?
You know, there's some. I don't think you can. You know, the thing of a player making a commitment, you take that with a grain of salt. You know, I mean, the reality of where we are, if in the case of an Oregon State, a Kansas State, jumps in there at the last minute and takes a guy, whether he's committed to you or not, you have to be realistic and realize that if that opportunity arises, he may go do that. You know, but I don't think so. I think by and large it's pretty good. I really do. I think it's pretty good. The amazing thing to me has been how the Facebook, Twitter, just instant information piece of it. You know, just the instant information of, you know, kind of blow by blow. You know, the young guy we were recruiting out of Fort Scott, Kansas last night, kind of minute by minute. You know, he's coming, he's going, he's this, he's that, and you know, it's kind of interesting. So I'm kind of glad I'm probably a Neanderthal a little bit and don't know a whole lot about it and don't pay a whole lot of attention to it. You know, so.
Coach, you mentioned earlier that
Yeah.
that the offense might change. Did you get one of those?
No, we didn't look for one of those. No. Our moving forward with this program, I think, first of all, I think we have our niche of what we are. We have an identity of what we are. And to build the program until our talent level gets equal with the teams we're playing, to be quite honest, we have to run the ball. And that's why bringing the right mindset kids in that understand that. So we didn't go out there and try to recruit the receiver that's going to catch 14 balls a game. We didn't go recruit the quarterback that's going to come in here and want to throw it 40 times a game, because we're not built that way. We are not going to do that. We are what we are right now as we go forward. So we didn't really look for that. We know who we are.
When I was asking you that last thing, I was gonna follow up asking you if you gave it a letter grade, what kind of grade would you give it?
Man, I can't. I'm going to leave that to you recruiting gurus. Yeah, I couldn't do that, because that whole thing, and I'll tell you, we had an article, I should get it for you, but Bob the Best brought it to my attention, of taking the top, and this was just in the state of Texas. They went back the last 10 years and took the top 50 recruits in the state of Texas, compared to like the 100 through 150 ranked recruits, and the 100 to 150 blew away over a 10-year period, the 0 to 50. And I think the one thing that we have done is and I'll be honest, at Notre Dame, you would take that list and you would say, okay, here's the 5-star, the 5-star, the 5-star, the 5-star, and you would start there. Here, you don't do it that way. But in all honesty, I think that's the best thing about what we do here, is we honestly sit there and evaluate. There's not another staff in the country, I will make this statement, that evaluated guys as hard as we evaluated. I mean, we were relentless on everyone. I had Josh, everybody sit in and watch guys from an evaluation standpoint to see if they fit. Regardless, I didn't care. I don't care who's recruiting them and who isn't, because I'm not going to fall into that trap. Because after today, does it matter? Does it matter if Rivals ranks us as 1, 6, 8? Who cares? So you get caught up in that trap, and then you have head coaches that are working the guys that do the survey or the ranking because it makes them look better on signing day. It's all BS. It's taking the guys that fit what you do. And that's what I'm most proud. So you can go ahead and rank them. And you know what? You'll rank them on that scoreboard, what that scoreboard says at the end of those games, right?
Coach, was there anybody in New Mexico that got away from you that you really wanted? I know we didn't
No.
have a big class this year.
No.
Coach, can you talk about the one in-state product from Al Jordan?
Romel Jordan, great story. Living here in Albuquerque with, I'm not sure the exact title's legal guardians. Josh, do you know? I think they're his legal guardians. I think they adopted him. Again, Romel Jordan has been over here on our campus in camps, watching us play. A guy, again, that we felt very strongly was a great fit for us, but a great kid, and really excited to have him. Never wavered from the commitment, and a good player, really a good player. You put his tape on, it matches up with anybody we signed in this class, so really glad to have Romel Jordan.
Coach, I know with the New Mexico man and the New Mexico Day you just had with the local players.
Right.
You guys do have a commitment to bringing players from New Mexico into the program.
Oh, yeah.
What do you say to some fans, that particularly this morning,
Sure.
on some of the radio shows mentioned that they were a little disappointed with only one New Mexico signee?
Sure.
What do you tell those fans?
Let me think about it, but I would tell them the same thing that I stood up here 3 weeks ago. I had 50 players, probably 150 people in this room. And I said, my evaluation, and this doesn't mean I'm the expert on this, but what I've seen is it's not that there isn't some individual talent in the state of New Mexico. It's not that there's not good football players in the state of New Mexico. The difference is because of the numbers of players playing football. What do we have? 88 high schools in this state, right? the numbers of players playing football in some other states and the competition level over a 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th grade period, because of those more numbers, that development of that player is greater, faster than it is in New Mexico for high school kids because of numbers, and which leads to competition, which makes everybody better. There are individually good players in this state. Some of them are a little bit behind right now as we sit here on signing day, just because of what I said. Because of the level of competition from the time they were in the 7th grade in some of those programs over there. That's my opinion. So they may be a little, the numbers aren't as great. They may be a little bit behind initially, but they can catch up. They can catch up. Just look at our roster. How many kids last year? Both of our safeties, Matt Raymer and Freddie Young, were New Mexico kids. Our starting quarterback is a true freshman. A true freshman was a New Mexico kid. David Anaya played in every football game. Reese White played in every football game. Non-recruited player. There are good players here. They're just not as far enough along at an earlier date because they haven't had the competition. And they haven't been involved in the numbers, which makes everybody better. Our quarterback situation right now, the level of play of our quarterback situation will improve because we have more competition at that position. Do you agree? So take that from a kid in the 7th grade all the way to 12th grade. There's just more numbers of guys, period. You know, and so that, right or wrong, fair or unfair, that's just what it is. And I've got an obligation to bring in the very best players that are there right now. But I do not take for granted 1 second the coaching in this state. No one's been more passionate about New Mexico and what New Mexico men bring to this program. And I'll do whatever I can, and I'll get the best players on the field. Is that fair? I mean, I got an obligation to this university and to this program and to all our fans to play the very best players. Okay?
So we've been really lucky with walk-ons in the years past, and so when do we actually hear about, like, I don't even know what, is it like August when we find out all the walk-ons from New Mexico that will?
I think maybe a couple are committing today. I'm not sure how that all works. But yeah, you know, last year,
We've been lucky,
yeah, we've been really lucky.
yeah.
We've been really lucky. I mean, Tim Foley, Matt Raymer started a big part of the season for us. Both were walk-ons.
Yeah.
You know, so
Coach, we've got some guys who are signing up for Division II, like Pittsburgh State College, and some of those guys, I think, I kind of agree with you. If they were in the program with
Yeah.
New Mexico, they could be a player for you.
Sure.
Just on the edge. And you might know who they are, but I agree with you there. Do you think we can convince those kids, get them on a lottery scholarship, get them in here?
we are. I mean, that's been our whole thing.
Yeah.
Just look back at how many walk-ons we had come into this program last year that had opportunities to go and maybe receive some aid that chose to come here. I mean, the lottery scholarship's a tremendous opportunity, and we have taken full advantage of that. I think you ought to grab the David and we had, in fact, the day we did the New Mexico Day, we did it right here. We had a panel set up of David Anaya, Aho, Cole Gauchi was here because he's an in-state kid, in-town kid. Jack Lamb was here. I mean, Jack Lamb's a perfect example. Jack Lamb is right now 277 pounds. Jack Lamb last year when he walked on, I think he was 240 when he walked in here in August. Jack Lamb is 277 pounds. Will have every opportunity to maybe start for this team. He's right in there right now with Adcock and Lamar Bratton. He's turned into a man. And he's got 4 years of football to play. You know, so I think Jack Lamb, David Anaya, Reese White, Tim Foley, talk to those guys. Interview those guys. I mean, it's you know, if for the family that can financially afford or bypass the ego piece of saying I got a little bit of aid to go here, if your dream is to come play big time football and come to a big time university, well, come make that dream happen. You know, you end up on scholarship here. You end up starting here. You end up playing for a Mountain West Conference championship. Let's go. So I think it's a heck of a deal. I think it's a unique piece of our deal moving forward. That's why we got a guy run out there with that New Mexico flag leading that team on the field, a walk-on every game doing it. We're over in Honolulu, Hawaii. We got a walk-on running out with that flag, right? It's pretty important to me. All right, guys. Enough philosophy? All right. Thank you, guys.